This is Georgetown, the podcast. Georgetown County and the city. Georgetown is growing, changing, expanding, and blossoming. The Hammock Coast of South Carolina. It's a renaissance. This is Georgetown, the podcast. Here's your host, Scott Richards.
Welcome back, Georgetown, the podcast. Georgetown, the podcast is all about Georgetown, the Renaissance, and the history of Georgetown. I am Scott Richards. We are on location at the Maritime Museum on historic Front Street in Georgetown, and with me today is Paige Sawyer. Paige, I hear great things about you. We have some mutual friends, and they say, oh, you got to talk to Paige. Now that we've connected, I say, oh, I think I've seen you a bunch at some Georgetown Chamber events.
Right.
You are one of those guys that is intimately involved with Georgetown. So, first of all, are you a native? Tell me about your background and the connection to Georgetown, the city and the county.
Scott, I'm a seventh generation South Carolinian. I've lived in Georgetown since 1972. I think the good Lord destined me to be here because I would not go anyplace else. Georgetown, as you will find out, has charm, has history, wonderful people, and it's like an addiction. Once you come to Georgetown, you get involved, you want to know a little bit more, you want to learn a little bit more, and you just need another fix. So that's why I'm here in Georgetown, and we welcome you to Georgetown, and I think you will get the same impression that everyone who lives here has.
Well, let me get a little background. You have spent your career as what? And we're going to talk about what you're doing also now, but your career is?
Yes, sir. My wife and I started a photography business here in Georgetown in 1974. And we were running that business until last year, 2025, and we decided to close it. That's my background. I've also done some radio in the past. I've done numerous things, but photography was our main calling.
Paige, talk a little bit about Georgetown. It goes back longer than the communities around it, and you may correct me, but longer than almost any place in South Carolina. How far back do we go?
Georgetown is South Carolina's third oldest city. The historic district, which we're in the middle of it right now, was laid out way back in 1729. Even though we had settlers here prior to that, the city was officially laid out in 1729. It became a port of entry in 1732. We have so much history: Revolutionary War, war between the states, prominent people. Georgetown was producing 50% of all the rice consumed in America back when rice was an industry here in South Carolina. We produced more than Charleston County, Berkeley County. Georgetown was the rice capital of South Carolina.
So let's bring it up to date. You are doing some tours which absolutely sound fascinating. Talk about the tours that you are doing in Georgetown.
We offer two walking tours here in Georgetown. One is the Old Georgetown Walking Tours, which encompasses 300 years of history of Georgetown. The other one we started 2 years ago, following the footsteps of Francis Marion. Some people know him as the Swamp Fox. Mm-hmm. Francis Marion and his family, they moved to Georgetown when he was a young lad of 4 or 5 years old, and he spent his childhood, his teenage years here until he started fighting the Indians in 1759.
I did not know that Francis Marion was part of Georgetown. So the tour is, here's where he ate a breakfast, this is where he went to school. What's that involved? And is it Front Street or other areas?
The Following the Footsteps of Francis Marion tour begins right over here at Francis Marion Park, which was named after him in 1975. We take you around Georgetown. We show you where the British headquarters were. We show you where Francis Marion and his family lived. We show you where the jail was, where the fortification that the British had. The British occupied Georgetown for about 1 year between 1780 and 1781, and Francis Marion made 4 attempts to free Georgetown from the British. So we give you that information. We show you the homes that were silent witnesses to the action that happened here in Georgetown, and we would love to take you on that tour.
I want to take that tour. When does it happen? How often do you do these tours?
The tours are done by appointment, by demand, so we don't have a set schedule, but you let us know in advance when you're ready, and we're ready when you are.
Well, I'm going to get a group, and we're going to come down. And
come on.
We'll talk about this in a little bit because we can make a day of it. Some great restaurants, maybe the theater. Let's talk about Georgetown today in the broadest sense. I want you to think back over the last year, 2 years. What has been the biggest impact that you have seen from your perspective in Georgetown?
The biggest impact I've seen in the last year or so was the closing of International Paper Company. They announced in October of 2024 that they were closing, and a year later they shut down. International Paper Company was a major employer here in Georgetown County. They had been here since 1936, and it was quite a devastating blow to the citizens and the businesses here in Georgetown that International Paper Company was going to close. Another big industry that is no longer with us is Georgetown Steel. They employed hundreds of people when they first opened in the late 60s. Unfortunately, the steel industry has been very volatile, up and down, back and forth, and they have since shuttered. Now, even though the devastation of the two mills closing has had an effect on Georgetown, I don't really think it's had a real negative effect on Georgetown. Georgetown is going to bounce back. We have tourism, we have natural resources, we have beauty, we have charm. So even though the mills have closed, they're not going to effectively shut down Georgetown.
You're watching or listening to Georgetown, the podcast.
Paige, if we go back when you came to Georgetown, originally in the early 70s, this was a whole different place. Steel mill, paper mill. What was life like back then? Because so many careers and lives and families depended on those industries. What was it like? And then bring it today, because we don't have that.
Georgetown back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s was primarily known as a mill town because of the paper mill and later the steel mill. Sometime in the 1970s, I think it was with the 300th anniversary of Charleston. Charleston was founded in 1670, so they started celebrating the tricentennial of Charleston. That woke up some people here in Georgetown that said, hey, we've got some history here also. So they started forming a historical society. The Rice Museum became into effect in 1970. A tour tram became operational in 1970. And then the bicentennial came in 1976. So a lot of the history started getting exposed in the 1970s and 1976. Here we are coming up on the 250th anniversary of the celebration of our country, and more of that history is being exposed as we speak. Marquis de Lafayette, his first footsteps on American soil were here in Georgetown County. We just spoke about Frances Marion. We have Eliza Lucas Pinckney, one of the ladies who perfected the process of indigo. We have Thomas Lynch Sr. He was a signer of the Declaration of Independence, but unfortunately, because of his death, he could not sign the Declaration, and his son signed it. They both lived about 20 miles south of here on the Santee River. We have the Alstons. We have James Monroe. He came through Georgetown. George Washington, after he finished his term with the Revolutionary War, he made the Southern tour. He came right through Georgetown. So Georgetown has the history. We just want the people to know that Georgetown is one of the most historical places here in South Carolina.
I don't know if this is overly obvious, and maybe I'm making an assumption. Georgetown is named for?
Georgetown is named for King George II. King George II was the King of England at the time when the colonies were formed. His son, King George III, he was the one in charge of the Revolutionary War when the British occupied Georgetown and Charleston.
I want to go back to the steel mill a little bit. It seemed that the closing of the steel mill maybe was a little bit more emotional than the closing of the paper mill, or is it just time-wise that I'm remembering it that way, that there was some consternation that that's a big closing.
The closing of the steel mill and the paper mill, especially with the paper mill, you had generations of people who worked at the paper mill. So it goes back in families. They're directly connected to the paper mill. The steel mill also, it opened in 1968. There were several generations of Georgetownians and people who lived outside Georgetown who worked at the steel mill. So, it had an emotional effect on the people who had worked there and their descendants or their families.
Did it matter? I mean, to me, it seems like it's a big impact. Georgetown Steel Mill was visible right there in downtown Georgetown. Did it have that impact as being part of downtown? And then talk about what it means that it's not there now.
The location of the steel mill has always been questionable by a lot of people here in Georgetown. The third oldest city with a steel mill next door to it. Some people didn't like that, but at the same time, they were providing opportunity, economic opportunity for people and their families. The closing of the steel mill has opened up a door to the future development of Georgetown, and I think we will see that within the next 10 to 20 years.
Let's talk about the next 5 years. What do you think you'll see? What does Georgetown look like 5 years from now in 2031?
Well, in 2031, I believe Georgetown will retain the charm that it has. We will see future development with some industry, some commercial activity, but the core of Georgetown will remain what it is today, even with the outside influences of new industry, new development, and people have found Georgetown. There are developments, housing developments going on south of Georgetown, north of Georgetown, all around Georgetown. So Georgetown has been found, and some of us have a bumper sticker on the back of our car that says, "Georgetown, we full."
So, driving over to the Maritime Museum, I drove through some of the neighborhoods behind here, and I think there are few people that are aware of that. Talk a little bit about what you see just off of Front Street. Some of these houses will rival anything you'll see in Charleston. It's a I could live there type of place. It's gorgeous. And I'm not sure people are aware of what's here.
Yeah, usually 99% of the people stay on Highway 17, either going north or south, and never see the beauty of Georgetown. You can talk to any of those who have gotten off of Highway 17 and have visited Georgetown, and they say, we never knew it was as pretty as it was. We have pre-revolutionary homes, we have antebellum homes, we have churches. Georgetown is a mini Charleston, mini Savannah, mini Beaufort. We have just as much history and beauty as those places have, and in order to see it, you need to get off of Highway 17 and come and experience what we all are blessed to live here.
What are those houses like? Do you live in an old antebellum mansion? Whether you do or not, are they complicated to maintain and keep up and heat? And imagine a house that's 200 years old. You can't just put a new door on it or replace a window.
Right. Thankfully, Georgetown is on the National Historic Trust. In order to maintain our historical integrity, the owners of these historical homes have to maintain the historical integrity of the homes. If a window breaks out, they can't go to Lowe's or Home Depot or someplace and buy a prefab window to go in it. They have to replace it with wooden panels, wooden panes, and glass. It can't be double pane glass or anything of that nature, but it has to be relevant to the year the structure was built. So we do have an architectural review board here. If you're doing any work on the interior, that's okay. That is not covered by the ARB rules, but if you're doing anything on the outside, you have to maintain the historical integrity of the structure itself. So yes, it does cost a little more to own a historical home, but the homeowners, they take great pride in their property, and that's why you're astounded when you come to Georgetown and see how well maintained the beauty and the structures are.
Is a home automatically designated after a certain amount of time, or it's 200 years old? I would know if I'm buying a home that way. It's not something that comes up as a surprise.
Usually the realtors, they're familiar with the homes and the years they were constructed. We have 200-year-old homes, we have 250-year-old homes, we have some 300-year-old homes. The historic district was laid out in 1729, and it's basically the same historic district that we have today. We're in the middle of the historic district right now. As you said, you can go back and forth, you can see the beauty of the homes. Many of the newer homes, they may not be historical in nature, but they contribute to the historical integrity of the neighborhood.
We talk about real estate growth. Obviously, in the historic district, we're not adding new homes, but all in the area, the real estate growth in Georgetown, the county, and the city is absolutely phenomenal. What are you seeing?
I see the same thing. I see more and more people coming into Georgetown. They want to buy a home. They want to live in a place that has a nice neighborhood, nice schools, close to the beaches, close to the shops. We've got it all right here in Georgetown. There's no need to go to Myrtle Beach. There's no need to go to Charleston unless you're sick and need medical care, but we have everything you need right here. And if you do need to travel, we're in the middle of Myrtle Beach and Charleston, so those two cities are not that far away.
When was the last time you drove up to Myrtle Beach?
Probably sometime in December.
Who are you meeting? Who are the people that you are meeting that are moving here? It's a little bit of a loaded question because I think we know who's moving here, but who are you meeting?
We're meeting people from mostly up north, Ohio, people from New York, New Jersey. That seems to be the nucleus of the people who are moving here. You can go into a neighborhood and you may be the only, maybe two other couples from South Carolina. And when you meet somebody who's not from here, they say, "Oh, we haven't met that many people from here. We're glad to meet you."
That's different the way it used to be. 40 years ago, everybody was from South Carolina,
right. Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of flipped. What's some of your, I don't know if you can pick one, but your favorite thing about living and being a part of Georgetown?
Wow, that's a hard question to answer. There are so many amenities here in Georgetown that I just don't see how anybody could find anything wrong. But we have great restaurants, we have great shops, we have great people. It's just a wonderful place to live. It's a small southern town and people are friendly, and we're glad to have that people come to visit Georgetown. Unfortunately, we have some who want to come and change Georgetown. Ooh. We're not really entertaining their thoughts too much, but we welcome their ideas and suggestions. But
sort of. Yeah. Sort of. Georgetown's done very well, and really the renaissance of Georgetown. What would be the surprise that people might find out, or the unexpected about Georgetown? We've talked about the history and the growth, but what do you think might surprise people?
I think the biggest surprise, they find Georgetown a small, comfortable, friendly town. You can walk out here on the Harbor Walk, and when somebody passes me, I say, "Hey, how you doing?" And they sort of look and, "Oh, you're talking to me." Say, "Yes, sir," or "Yes, ma'am. We welcome you to Georgetown. Hopefully you'll find everything to your liking, and we're glad to have you." So they're sort of astounded that somebody actually spoke or made eye contact with them.
There really is a Southern charm here.
Yes, sir.
And it's a small town Southern charm.
Yes, sir.
I have always felt extremely welcome walking into any of the restaurants or the shops. Or I'm going to put you on the spot. Your favorite, we love them all and they're all great, but your favorite restaurant in Georgetown, when you have to go out and let's just go to our regular, where do you love to go? I mean, this is not a commercial, I'm just asking.
Yeah. Well, we have several.
Making notes.
We have several favorite restaurants. All the restaurants are good. You won't go into one and get a bad meal, a bad service. But a down-home restaurant is Thomas's Cafe right up here on the corner. Mm-hmm. Soco Grill right down below Thomas's Cafe. Friendly people, good food, good prices. You can go in there and feel like you've been in there 100 times and you'll go back 100 times because they make you feel welcome. But we do have other restaurants, and it depends on how much money, how much you want to pay for a meal. We've got everything here that you would need to fill your stomach with something good.
Here's your chance to invite people, and I want to bring people up, especially from Charleston, because it's much closer. Paige Sawyer, invite people. Why do they need to come and visit? For a day or a couple of days or an afternoon?
If you want to get out of the rat race that's in Charleston and Mount Unpleasant, if you want to get out of the rat race that's in Horry County, come to Georgetown. Bring your wife, bring your family, bring your friends, and you will experience small town southern charm. You will experience delectable restaurants. You will have the opportunity to shop in a variety of stores that offer so much. We have 5 museums here. That gives you an idea of the amount of history here. We have beautiful tree-lined streets. The trees were planted by a former mayor back around the turn of the century. Those live oaks have grown. They offer beautiful canopies. You will see the restaurants, the historical homes here, the historical churches. This is the place that you want to be when you want to get out of the rat race that you're living in.
Paige Sawyer, you are a fount of knowledge and I will say passion about Georgetown. And I am so glad we got a chance to meet you. Georgetown, the podcast, on location at the Maritime Museum on Front Street, which is just a golden strip that I hope everyone will have a chance to take advantage of. Paige, I'm going to say thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, sir.
Georgetown, the podcast, thanks for being with us. We've got lots more to come.
Thank you for watching or listening to Georgetown, the podcast. Learn more about the Hammock Coast and Georgetown. Read Georgetown Magazine in print, pick one up around Georgetown and along the Carolina coast. Or digitally, visit readgeorgetownmag.com.